better turn that on. We ready to go,
Yes,
Lisa?
sir. Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, thank you. Cassandra, we're ready to go. And Samantha, ready to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. It's 10 o'clock on February 27th. I'd like to call to order this special meeting. If you would, let's all stand as we're led in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. No prayer this morning. It's supposed to be a work session anyway. Got changed up a little bit. That's okay. We'll just all think about God. Okay, so Sadie, you're here for item 2A, and I understand we're going to table that. Do I need to read this, or can she just come up and I should read it? Okay, it's information, discussion, and action to repeal resolution number 231203 and adopt resolution 2402, authorizing the Gila County Recorder as the Board of Supervisors designate two emergency voting centers for the 2024 elections. Sadie, fill us in.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Well, thanks, first of all, for having me here and letting me explain this. So on February 9th, the state legislatures, actually I should say the governor signed House Bill 2785. If you guys have read it, it's about 18 pages of election laws that they decided to change right before the presidential preference. One of them was to change the times of the curing period. What curing period is basically if you don't, if your signature doesn't match what we have on file for the early ballot, you have so many days afterwards to come back and say, yes, I did sign this early ballot, it is me. You have to show all that stuff. They changed that to be calendar days instead of business days. So that would fall on the weekend. So then in the new bill, it says that you need to be open the weekend before the election and weekend after election for the curing period. Well, in that little thing, there's emergency voting also. So early voting would end Friday before the election at 5 p.m. The new law says that we have to go until 7 p.m. Emergency voting starts at 8 a.m. Saturday and runs until 7 p.m. on Monday. So our resolution, when I came back in December and asked for the emergency votings, because they have to be, the emergency voting locations have to be approved by the board, we said it was just going to be Monday. Well, we're allowed to do it over the weekend, and if you do not approve it, then I would have to turn people away when they're coming in to cure their ballots, and I didn't really feel like saying, no, I'm sorry, you can't vote, even though we're standing here. And so that's why we were going to do the resolution. Well, at 8:04 this morning, I received an email from the state saying that they are doing a trailer bill, and all it has to do now is be passed by the House and signed by the governor, and these new bills or these new laws do not take effect until after May 30th of this year.
This bill that we're
Yes.
discussing.
Yes.
Okay.
So originally we were going to change the emergency voting to be over the weekend, but now we don't have to do it until afterwards. It's, if you want to look it up, it is now, sorry, let me grab the number. Senate Bill 1429 is the new trailer bill that's going to explain a lot of it. So we would like to table this until after the governor signs Senate Bill 1429. If she does not sign it, then I will be back in here to do a resolution saying that we have to be open for emergency voting those days. If she does sign it, we're going to stick with the resolution from December. Is that clear as mud?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all.
Absolutely.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions, Supervisor Humphrey?
No, just that we hope that she signs or doesn't sign to give you enough time to do what you need to do, to notify the public of what the governor thinks she should do.
Thank you. I'm with you 100%.
I hope that the burden doesn't bear on your shoulder.
Thank you. Yeah, it was this House bill that passed. In there it says that we had to change one word in the voting instructions. It had to say mail affidavit instead of affidavit. But they didn't have a timeline, so we had to reprint 20,000 instructions before we could mail out the early ballots for the presidential preference election because there was no timeline in this House bill. Yeah.
Supervisor Klein?
Sadie, I'm really glad you're here to take keep up with all this. Thank you so
Brian.
much.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm here too, though.
Yeah, thank you, Sadie. This is stressful for you. And so I'm going to call for a motion to table this item until we have a better indication of which way to go.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve tabling. Item 2A, those say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. All right, and now we'll move on to item 2B. And this is information discussion regarding revised policy number BOS FIN 016, Community Agency and Economic Development Funding. Maren.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Supervisor Klein and Supervisor Humphrey. So today we have a work session item for you. This is, as you said, policy number BOS FIN 016, Community Agency and Economic Development Funding. This policy edit is in response to audit finding 2022-01. This audit finding first occurred in for fiscal year 2018, which we got in fiscal 21, I believe. The policy revision is attached. This revision formalizes the policy and procedure that you have been following for about the last year, where our individual districts, executive administrators are currently the ones who prepare the documentation for any economic development and community agency funding requests. And the only thing that the policy adds that is not currently occurring is a monthly report from finance to the consent agenda. Everything else that's in here is a formalization of the current procedure that Kathy and Melissa and Terry are currently following.
Thank you, Maren. Jessica.
Yes, Chairman, member supervisors, if you want to get into any sort of legalities of the policy, then I recommend entering an executive session so we can have a discussion there.
I'll call for a motion to adjourn here and enter into executive session.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, if we're all ready to go, then I go ahead and call to order our regular meeting again, our special meeting. And with regard to item 2B, Maren, if you would, please continue.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. So to follow up on the discussion we were having previously, this item will come back to the Gila County Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, March 19th as a regular agenda item for information, discussion, and action.
Okay, thank you, Maren.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, then we'll move on to item 2C, information discussion regarding the process and progress of the Copper Corridor Blightbusters Brownfields Coalition Assessment Grant, which is set to close in September 2024. And we have Amy with us.
Hello, thank you, Board of Supervisors, for allowing me to talk about this today. I'm gonna have to work this clicker and try not to forget as I go along. So the Copper Corridor Blightbusters Brownfields Grant is almost over. We have 7 months left in the grant. We are going to go ahead and ask for an extension because we have several projects that are ongoing that'll go after our grant is over, and so we're gonna do that. We're working on that right now. But, so we have, wanted to go over the project outputs. We prepared a quality assurance project plan at the beginning, and that was just basically to tell us what was gonna happen. We wanted to complete 36 phase 1 assessments, 4 petroleum and 32 hazardous. We wanted to complete 8 phase 2s, 2 petroleum, 6 hazardous, and 28 comprehensive asbestos surveys. And then 10 cleanup plans. So we had 2 petroleum products and 8 hazardous. What we found in going through the Copper Corridor is that the petroleum ones were a little harder to get at, and because of private ownership or whatever was happening with property at the time. So we ended up having a lot more hazardous than we did the petroleum, but we do have a few of the others. So we did complete the, well, that's interesting. We did complete the quality assurance project plan, and then for the phase 1s, we have no words up there, except for we do have 1 petroleum completed and 21 hazardous completed. And oh, there we go. Thank you. I was like, I know I put it on there. So if you look there, that's Bullion Plaza. That was one of our phase 1s that was completed, and then the company that was planning to purchase it went somewhere else for their phase 2. But that was one of our phase 1s. Apparently this is going to be a thing. Okay, so we completed 1 petroleum for the phase 2s and 4 hazardous so far, and we're working on more right now. You'll see a list in a moment of the other ones that we're doing. We have completed 28 asbestos surveys, 21 asbestos and 21 lead-based, actually. So we have 2 of those. If you would like to see these reports, they're on our CC Blightbusters website, and we're keeping them updated as they're completed. I actually do have a couple to put on right now that we've completed, but these are all up there, and you can see, you and anybody in the public can see what's going on as we go along. So we wanted to prepare 10 cleanup plans, and so far we've done 3, and we have 4 underway, which means that we'll have a couple of more if we can get them by the end of the grant, and the extension we'll be able to do those as well. The only thing is, I'm not sure we'll have enough money for all that we wanted to do, because as we've gone through, just a little disclaimer, this was my first Brownfield grant, and I maybe overestimated some of the amount of things we could get done with the amount of money that we had. So that is why in a moment we are applying for another Brownfields grant so that we can finish some of those. We completed the historic Superior High School campus, which I took a tour of not too long ago, which was very beautiful. And to explain to everybody, the Copper Corridor is from Superior, Globe, Miami, Kearney, Winkleman. So there's several different cities, towns that are involved in this. And then they completed the Bullion Plaza, Phase 1 of Inspiration School, and then the Superior Land Transfer. Then these are all of the properties we have in process right now. And the reason I think for that, and Kathy, you can jump in anytime if you would like to. The reason for that is I believe that because of past assessment projects, some of the people who would be involved in these were like, well, well, we're going to have another assessment, and then what? What happens after that? And so what we have done was we applied for the EJ grant, which is going to take it past the assessment phase, which means that there's a cleanup needed, a cleanup will be done. If there's demolition needed, demolition will be done. And so that actually has encouraged everybody, okay, well, let's get this done. And so we had a rush of properties toward the end. So all of these are to be done before the end of our grant, and will not be done by September. So that's why we're asking for an extension. Kathy, did you have anything you wanted to say? You have anything? Okay, so of the $600,000 grant, we have $235,000 left, and that will be more than taken up with these properties. We do have the EJ grant that's going to help, and it will do a few things. Like there's some assessments that we can do with the environmental justice grant, but they don't want us to duplicate our efforts between these two grants. They want us to move to the next level. And so what we're going to do, and with the blight, we're going to keep up with these brownfields grants. We're going to do it until everybody is satisfied that all the buildings have been taken care of, if they can be, and we're going to keep the website going so that through the years people can go back if they want to buy a piece of property. They can go back and see what's been done, and then they've done their due diligence, and then they can move on and either purchase or not, or get more assessments done. So that is my update. Any questions?
Oh, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
No, I think the brownfield grants are a great thing. Nobody realizes, but like the Tempe Marketplace, it used to be chop shops and landfills.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's methane gas pipes coming up next to some of those buildings, but they're up high enough that they don't bother the public. So, some of the cleanups that can be done with brownfield grants are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. When I was on the Industrial Development Authority, we got a grant to kind of clean up some of the gas stations. And nobody wanted us there because they didn't want to admit they had a problem, because
Nice.
then they thought that they would be made to take care of that problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want the expense or the bad advertisement. So
Mm-hmm.
I think going forward, we need to share our success stories
Yes.
as much as we can to let some of these property owners know that we're there to help them and not penalize them for taking on phase 1, because then there's a phase 2 and a phase, until they get the property cleaned up. I think we need to show that more. We need to advertise
I
more
agree.
that we're there to help them, not hinder them as property owners.
Yes, and that is one of the objectives moving forward. We're going to get some of this information out into the public, because when we apply for another one, and also for the EJ grant, we want people to understand this is where we are, this is where we're going. One thing that that we found and that we didn't know before we started the grant was that if somebody had purchased a piece of property after 2002 and it had not had a phase 1, then we couldn't help them. But we were able to work with ADEQ, which Travis Barnum is wonderful. He just jumped right in there, and we were able to put several different grants together and get some of these properties done. For instance, this medical center over here for the City of Globe, that was one of those. We couldn't actually help them with this grant, but we talked to Travis about it. Travis said, oh yeah, I can do that. So he was able to go in and get that complete. And we found that several different times. So we were able to not just work with the grant we had, but to maximize our resources, our contacts, and reach out for other money.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and if you don't mind, would you say those success stories are available?
You can go, I'm going to be writing some of the success story, for publication. But if you want to go and find these assessments, they are online on CC Blightbusters.
Okay, I think I would like to be able to receive the success stories
Okay,
so that I can share them in my public meetings of some of the cleanups and things
Oh, sure.
that's been done and where we're going with some of the cleanups, then I can share them on the radio and in some of my public meetings.
okay,
Because we do a great job, we just don't tell a good story, and we need to.
you were right. We're gonna work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Amy, thank you, and Kathy, you as well. This has been a, a real huge plus for Gila County.
Thank you.
I remember coming in here years ago, and we had that hotel list down there in Winkleman and Hayden.
Yeah.
That had been tackled for several years before I got here. Couldn't get anywhere, you know, and so having everything fall into place like we did on that hotel, and now with what you all have been doing, now with this Blight Buster grant and all that, is a huge plus. And it's not just for Gila County, it's for Pinal County as well, Town of Superior, Copper Corridor, like you said. And so hopefully we can just keep it going and do more and more.
That's the plan. I'm hoping
Yeah.
get
So-
get all these buildings that are falling down, either down or rehabbed.
You bet. So everything you guys are doing, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. I appreciate all that you do. There's a lot going
Thank
on
you.
there. You got a lot of different things, pursuing future grants, all that. So appreciate all that. It's a good report.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have no action on this item. And so let's move on to item 2D, information discussion regarding improved methods for outreach and onboarding of contractors for community services projects. Joshua Beck, how are you?
Good morning, Supervisor Christensen, members of the board. So at previous board meetings, we've talked a lot about, and even sitting in the audience, we see a lot of community services grants that come up for weatherization and home remodels. And because of the way all these grants work, there's just a lot of pieces to the puzzle, especially when it comes to weatherization. We receive money from APS, we receive money from Southwest Gas, we receive state monies, we receive federal monies that all kind of go into these pots, and they're either for home remodels, weatherization, and so it comes before the Board of Supervisors a lot. So one of the good things about Supervisor Humphrey asking this question is, again, having community services under us now, it gave me a chance to kind of dive into these and kind of see where we're at. So can you pull up the slide for this? So as she pulls it up, all right, and that's tiny. But so there are 12 contractors that have been used. So I had Lisa from Community Services pull up just the last year. So this is last calendar year, so January, December 2023. Seemed like the best chance for all of us to just look at, here's what was expended in 1 year. So there are, just quick notes, there are 8 vendors in county, 4 vendors out of county that we used last year. You will notice, and the first thing that comes to mind right away, is you see the smaller grants are all the ones, or the smaller pots of money are the ones that were used by the people in the county. And then you'll see the larger ones, especially with Advantage Home Performance, are the ones that have been done out of county. Part of the reason as I look into that and I start looking into all these grants and where the money comes from is kind of makes sense. The larger the pots of money we're getting typically come from the federal government. The federal government for contractors requires a much more stringent list. Looking at their things, there's a WAP, which is a weatherization program, like boot camp class. It's 15 different courses that cover just all kinds of different things with weatherization, auditing and compliance checks of the home once you're done. It requires just, every person, because they're working with people that are at need or at-risk populations, they require level 1 fingerprint clearance cards for people that go into those homes, because most of the time we're doing weatherization projects that people are at home when we're going in there. So this isn't just the people that even apply for these. Any of the contractors that are going into the home would require a level 1 fingerprint clearance card. So these larger grants require that. The state grants require a little bit less for as far as what required of the contractors to go in, and then the Southwest Gas and the APS grants even less. So they give us a lot more flexibility on who we go with. So as I looked through this list, a lot of them were obviously the general contractors. I go to some of the larger ones just so everyone knows. So there's the BMS CAT of Arizona on there, the 4th from the bottom. So that vendor started there was a 2021 and a 2022 contract. Both were amended once. It did not go out to bid. They were both contracts under 50,000 that went out for, I think, 3 quotes, and they were the lowest quote. It was for a home remodel on 2 different homes. Those home remodels got extended, and that's why the price there. So it did go, it was the lowest bidder. There were multiple bids on those, just so you know. And that's where we get to the 101,000. I think both contracts were for around 50,000 and got extended for an additional period of time. Another large one on there, let's see who it is here, the FSL company. Just so you know, that is the company, so it's a smaller dollar amount, it's $10,850. But just so you see, it's an out-of-county one, but that's the one that does most of the training. So like that WAP boot camp, a lot of those different trainings that we have the contractors go through, and the audits if we have audits, which we do for, it sounds like for a lot of these, it's just in the inspections, the final inspections on the properties when they're done. So that's what we use them for. The big one that we see a lot, that comes to the board a lot, is this Advantage Home Performance. So that's the big 498,000. Just if you're curious, last year, the total for all contracts last year was $774,000. So it is a lot of money. So it's a good question Supervisor Humphrey presents when we say, why are we putting this much out of county? So looking at Advantage Home Performance, I was able to go back in Agenda Quick, and we go all the way back to 2019 is when we started working with them. We had a request to post. We went out to bid in April of 2019. Contract in June of 2019. One bidder, Advantage Home Performance, started with about $450,000. In 2020, that was extended. We added money to it. In 2021 again, and I assume this is a good thing as far as when I was looking at it, is so if you know our procurement policy, we can go out to bid, sign the first year contract, and we can extend that up to 3 times. We haven't done that, which I look back and think is a good thing, because we're allowing more and more contractors to apply each time. Because this went back out to bid again, they went to full request for positioning, request for posting, and went out to papers, and we put it out again in 2021. And again, Advantage Home Performance won. They were the only bid. That time their contract was in like the $500,000 range. And again in 2022, that got extended again. And then the last time in October of 2022, we went out to procurement a 3rd time, and a 3rd time, one bid, Advantage Home Performance. Again, where we're at right now is that last one from 2022 is expiring. So it's a good time to come and speak with the board to say, we know it's a good chance, work session, we can all discuss what are the best ways to move forward with this. From what I've learned, and it was kind of convenient today, Advantage Home Performance is actually over at the health complex right now. Not intentionally, it was just one of their meeting days today where they were there to meet. So I got to learn a little bit about them, that it is I will say it's speaking with Stella Gore, our new Community Services Manager, speaking with Kaylee, our past Community Services Director, and Estella, who works this program. They are a good company. It sounds like the advantages they have is they really designed their company to do these with multiple counties. So, they made sure to get all the right pieces of the part. They saw what was going to be required from this grant, saw the amount of money that there would be in the state, and designed things to match the qualifications that people were going to have. So they do a good job with this. But then going forward, it's, I've thought about ideas like, do we, once a year put this out to bid every year? And do we once a year have like a contractor session over at the Community Services Department where we talk about the experiences or the qualifications and everything people need to apply, and then go out to bid, and then, we can counsel people up until that point. Do we go in that direction? What level do we go? Because it is a large amount of money, and I would like to see, I assume you all would too, it would be nice to have, for one, just have 2 or 3 different vendors, so that each one of the projects, kind of like what we did with the flood projects with emergency management during the floods. So we go out to bid, we take 3 or 4 different people, and we have them all, and they're all certified and qualified, and we can go to the lowest bidder on each project, which creates better competition. So I know that's a lot of information, but that's where I'm at, and we're at a good time period, because right now there are no contracts. I can just extend the contract Advantage Home Performance, which we may have to do. There's like 8 months left on that fiscal year. I don't know if we can get somebody else in time, but it's a good time for us to discuss what does the board have in mind, or what are some of the suggestions you would have to kind of improve this process, looking at what we know of where we're at.
Okay. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I guess I do. Like, for instance, like I said, I was in the contracting business for 27 years, and when I first started, I did a lot of work for the county. before I was a supervisor. And so at that time, they required a BPI certification. I don't know if that's still required or not, but if not, probably something similar too. And there's got to be more than one company in the state of Arizona, as maybe even Gila County, that are certified. And so and as we go out to bid, is there like a list, or could we get information on who would be BPI certified? And let them know that we're going out to bid. Because it's not just notified in the back of Pace and Roundup paper that we're going out for bid for BPI certification, and some of the companies that have certs don't even know that we are reaching out for qualified bidders. And as well as I know a lot of local contractors, and now that we have a better view of the money that is involved in, I will reach out to contractors that I know, that I've worked with in the past, to see with this amount of money, would they be willing to go through the training to become BPI certified, to be able to add a little more work to their year. And so, yeah, I would just, and I appreciate all the time, energy, and effort, because now at least we know where the money went and who it went to. And before I wasn't sure, didn't know. And so I appreciate you putting the time and effort in getting all of these numbers, contractors, and things together for this information to bring before the board. And like I say, as we advertise for bid, I can't believe that there's not more companies willing to take advantage of the amount of money that not just Gila County's spending, but, to also get in competition with some of the larger counties as well, or other smaller counties. And so, anyway, my 2 cents is to maybe reach out to more certified contractors, that we are needing help with some of our work, and I've already reached out to a couple contractors, and I don't know if they've reached out to you or not, about your program, because like I say, the little monies, if they don't need to be BPI certified to replace a window, or to do a roof, or to put in a hot water heater or whatever, a lot of those small monies at the end of 12 months adds up as well. And so if we could get them signed up with your program as qualified contractors, and then they could work to get certified eventually, hopefully, because there is quite a bit of money in it. And like I say, that's just Gila County, that there was almost $1 million, so
And-
three
and
quarters.
One thing I don't want to downplay in this, especially coming from the health department, because we work with this a lot, from the director to all of our staff that work in schools, is the significance of the level 1 fingerprint clearance card for all vendors. I mean, if you ever look at the exemption list for the level 1 fingerprint clearance card, it's not much. It's a pretty significant undertaking, and it leaves very little past behavior unchecked when getting that fingerprint clearance card. So, I mean, it's a big barrier for a lot of places.
And that's even for the non-BPI certified? Okay. Well, that's good information. Like I say, now I know more, so I can reach out and try to help more, because I've been the squeaky wheel on local contractors, and so now I can squeak in their direction, and if they can't do a finger pass, it's not my fault, because I tried to help them.
So, one of you guys, tell me what BPI stands for.
Probably is. I just see it on all the paperwork.
Yeah, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's certified in how air flows through a house. We used to pressurize a house where you'd put a big fan at the front door and pressurize the home, and see where the air was going, so you would know what to plug up to
Sure.
make it
Yeah,
rise.
they're like,
Or you would suck or you would pull the air out of the house, so then you would know where
Where it's
all
coming
the leaks in the house are, to make it more of a sealed unit, and even the ductwork as well.
So what I heard you say as well is they all have to do fingerprint cards? So if there's any small issues along their past, it shows up in the fingerprint cards?
Yes.
There's no correcting that, is there?
And Jessica could probably go more on this, but I mean, in my experience, when you go, it's usually a board hearing when you have to, if you have something in your past and you want to, usually you almost have to have it expunged, and then you can go back to the fingerprint clearance board and have them reevaluate if you can expunge whatever it was that they don't
So,
want to see.
so like, is that just like if you had a prior felony against you, or is it any misdemeanor, or what is it there?
Chairman, member supervisors, Arizona doesn't really do expungement. They do recognize expunging marijuana charges, but as far as felonies, I don't see any sort of route to get that off anyone's record.
So then, Jessica, but on these fingerprint cards, would it also show up, show misdemeanors or anything like that? Well,
Yeah, Josh is saying yes.
There's a list of like 30 misdemeanors and most felonies that all count against type 1 fingerprint clearance.
so if you're a contractor and you have some misdemeanor against you or in your past and you fingerprint card, it comes up, that kind of kicks you out as far as a contractor? Wow, it's a wonder we have any at all. You know? I mean, being honest, I mean, misdemeanor can be a number of different things, so.
It does look like there is a process to consider expungement. I'm not sure how likely that is. I know that it's very easy to expunge the misdemeanors for, and even the felonies for marijuana or the possession of paraphernalia that arose from marijuana. But it does look like there is a process that Arizona accepts to consider expungement.
Probably a pretty lengthy process, I would almost imagine, and costly to boot, so.
Which is where, and I'm not saying when I look at it, I'm like, please, but it's where I say when I look at the funding that's not specifically tied to those programs, community services, and I say this because I'm kind of giving compliments to Kaylee and Melissa who's on, when you look at the funding that's not tied to that, they actually do a very good job of sorting that out with the local contractors. So they're definitely not intentionally looking at outside companies. They do a great job of sorting the money and shifting it out and bidding out the work that local contractors can do to the local contractors. When I'm going to the board all the time, and you're going to continue to see me presenting a lot of these larger ones, it's usually because, and I'll try to do a good job of presenting that in that way, I'll show you where that funding is coming from, and you'll see that a lot of those Advantage Home Performance contracts are those federal level, like the HUD and those type of contracts that are coming down and have the most stringent reasoning behind them.
So Josh, like the lower dollar figures, those projects, we don't have to have the fingerprint cards? Okay, so that's only for like your HUD type projects?
Correct.
Federal projects. Wow, I mean, I'm no different than Supervisor Humphrey. I'd like to see as much money as we possibly can stay in Gila County. But there's only so much we can do too.
And I think this, Mr. Chair, if I may, I think the difficulty might lie with the crew, because the people that work for the contractor also have to have fingerprint cards. Because I don't think you can hold a contractor's license in the state of Arizona if you have a felony.
So it's a crew as well.
I think the difficulty would lie not in the contractor, but in the crew that would be on the job.
So you could.
So you would need like a 3-man crew with all of them to have a fingerprint card.
And Pat.
And you could have some employees that not, but they just couldn't work on these projects.
And a lot of that is their concern is we're oftentimes looking at the most when we pick these projects, we usually look for the most at-risk populations. So we're looking at like seniors 65 and older that are trying to stay in their home, people with young children trying to stay in their home. So these are the people that we're most likely to go work with, which is why they're so concerned that the federal dollar is going to someone. We're making sure that everyone that goes into that home has had the background check and everything, prevent lawsuits and all that, and just the safety of working with those homeowners, them knowing that those people have all been through a significant background check. So.
Well, I see the sense in that. Yeah, I see that. It just, you know, if it covers a crew as well, I mean, you could have a contractor that's clean and just fine, but if you got a crew that has something in their past, I'd
He-
kind of
he-
kick you out.
He just needs one or two people that can get their cards as well to be on these projects.
Which is hard because today, you know, I see lots of help wanted signs and not many people wanting to help. You know, so I can see the issues there.
Right.
So, thank you.
But I do follow Supervisor Humphrey and think when I see a number like 498,000, that sure at least is a capitalist. You think to yourself, well, there's an opening there, right? That's a lot of money if you can put the idea together and carry it to fruition.
Yeah, as a small business owner, that would be a good yearly income, you know, for a three-man crew.
So Joshua, yeah, I believe that they should have those programs, those stringent programs, the fingerprinting. We do that with our schools. We don't want teachers in our schools. We don't, you know, different things. But it's hard to find. You think construction is full of a bunch of squeaky clean people. It's kind of hard to imagine. And also, there's got to be some level of smaller contractors that just don't want all that. They don't want to have to pay federal wages, or they don't want to have to fill out all these papers or have $2 million in insurance or whatever all the requirements are. So I'll ask a question to Jessica. In listening to all this discussion about our preference of keeping the money in Gila County, using local contractors, at what level are we allowed to even steer that legally?
Chairman, member supervisors, so by statute, you're required to advertise in the Roundup or whatever newspaper advertising company won the procurement for that year. However, there's no barrier to go above and beyond advertising to let other companies know that you are going to be putting something out for bid. I see a benefit to the county as well. For example, this Advantage Home Performance, you know, they have a monopoly here in Gila County with being the only bidder. So it would be in the benefit of the county to have other bidders to lower that cost. So you wouldn't be prohibited from putting out other advertising means to let the public know that you're going to be putting something out for bid.
Okay, but we don't have a system in our ordinance or anything that would give preference to a local by a certain percentage or an amount or anything like that?
I mean, there are times where in the scoring of a request for proposals, we can't give preference to somebody in the county, but there are oftentimes, especially with public health, I can tell you, I mean, I look at who's done work in rural counties. I mean, that is definitely something that I can give preferential treatment to. I expect, you know, whoever it's different than working in urban counties or rural or, you know, or suburban areas. I can give preference to those kinds of, what kind of experience do you have on working in a county that has, you know, the kinds of projects we're doing. So although you can't, specifically say that we're looking for someone specifically in Gila County, there are different kinds of experience and stuff that would give a local person or a rural person those advantages over somebody else that are perfectly, you know, fair and equitable.
Well, I would think there would be a considerable amount of advantages using local versus out of town, just for a number of reasons. That a person is locally available, they can respond to something that didn't go well or that needs to be revisited, versus someone that's in Tucson or something. They're not going to want to come back up and fix some little thing that's whatever. So there would be a number of reasons to use someone locally just for the logistics of it. So, but, so in other words, you're saying it doesn't always have to be the low bidder.
No, sometimes it's the best qualified bid.
That's qualified
Yeah.
at a reasonable price. Okay.
But we need more than one person to find that
So,
best
yeah,
qualified person, you know, or bidder.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard because, you know, we are a small place and these big companies like that, I'm sure they're busy elsewhere as well, not just Gila County.
Which makes you wonder about the quality if they're doing that much work in Gila County and that much in other counties. How do they get to everybody?
And just as an update to the board, and I don't know if it's necessarily policy, but like for me, because of the health department, especially through COVID and stuff, obviously I've been through the RFP process quite a few times, and Amy probably has a little more answer to this, but usually every time we go out to bid, like the list of Betty will reach out to me from procurement and she'll say, who do you want this to go out to? So we know it goes out to the papers, but usually between Betty and I have like a big list of like all the vendors that have ever bid before for us and all the bidders that have won bids for us, and that we kind of keep growing that list. So, there are things like that. We put it out in the papers, but then we also send it to that whole list of everybody we've ever done before. And I haven't done any with community services yet, but I would assume that's probably we do that all the time in finances. So all these bidders, all these people that we've done work with before, if we were to go out and do this next bid where we were looking for weatherization work again, it's going to go out into the papers. But we do that extra step too. We do have anyone we've worked with before or anything like that. We do have those emails, and we do and send that out to everybody. So there is an extra level that has wiggle room, that we could continue to work harder to get it out to more people.
Mr. Chair, if I may, there's got to be a school for training for certification. I would imagine that their list of successful people, there would be a list of people that have been certified through them. Would that be public information that we could obtain? I mean, if I want a contractor, I could go to the register of contractors and find out licensed contractors in state Arizona.
I would know that one, but I will say, not to open a can of worms, but I have thought, and I've spoken to Mr. Driscoll about this, and I know this will be much longer than this year, but of the project of what are the possibilities of ever bringing it in-house and just hiring our own fingerprint clearance card people and just doing the work, and then the money all stays in the county because we run the program through community services and hire contractors that way, and then all the money stays. That's a big conversation, and I'm not saying we have to have that now, but it is something to think of, because then all the money stays. We find people that can get fingerprint clearance cards and train them, because the trainings are paid for through the grants, so that we can pay whoever is I think, as Kaylee told you before, I mean, we can pay to get the contractors to do the trainings. There's funding in there for that. The biggest is the fingerprint clearance card and those. So there are ways around it, which is why I bring it to the Board of Supervisors to say, I'm always willing to shake the box and say, is there a better way?
Jessica.
Yes, Chairman, board members. So going back to the fingerprint clearance cards, there is an avenue to petition the Board of Fingerprinting for good cause to, basically contest, I have a criminal record, but I want to go ahead and get this fingerprint clearance card for X, Y, and Z reasons. So there is a list of offenses that would prohibit somebody from getting a fingerprint clearance card. It looks like they mostly involve children or sexual crimes, but then there's a list of other crimes, mostly misdemeanors or shoplifting, forgery, just to name a few, that would allow someone to petition the board to try to obtain that fingerprint clearance card.
Okay.
I like your way of thinking, Josh. So,
And Mr. Chair, if I may, yeah, if we could get certified, I think that would be definitely an avenue to look at, because then we could also be a subcontractor to people that qualify. Instead of hiring a general, we could be the general and hire subcontractors.
Joshua, just as a note, I noticed that Gila County puts like a 2-page ad in the Payson Roundup. It's every quarter or something like that. And I don't know if that would be an additional avenue to say, calling all contractors, do you realize you have opportunities if you meet these, as an additional incentive for them to understand that, because maybe there's I'm a contractor and I don't seek county, I've never sought county bids and didn't even think about it. Maybe there's a lot out there that don't think about it. So it's just a thought. And I won't be seeking any. Yeah. And so, as a contractor, I've never desired to become big. I've never desired to go through that whole deal with a bunch of employees and a big building and accountants and all of that. To me, that was just not ever a desire. So, there's probably a lot of smaller mom and pop kind of people that just don't want that hassle. They want to be able to name their price, not bid. So Anyway, what else we got for Josh?
I'm good. That's good information.
It's not an action item, so hopefully that helps you to understand maybe what we're thinking. Okay.
Josh, I thank you very much, and if there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
Will do.
Yep. Goes for all of us. Thank you, Josh. Okay, so our next item is call to the public. I'm not sure if we have anyone here today, but let me ask you, Cassandra, is there anyone on the internet that wishes to speak? Is there anyone here in Globe that wishes to speak? And is there anyone in Payson?
No, sir.
Okay. How many do we have, Cassie, on the internet today? 15. Okay. Great. So our next item, number 4, is to get a report from the Board of Supervisors and County Manager. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, last week attended small counties dinner and forum with the other small counties in Arizona. Really good dinner that was hosted by Apache County, and then the CSA board meeting on Thursday. I just wanted to let you know that they go alphabetically, and so it's Gila County's turn to host small counties dinner. The CSA board meeting is on March 21st, and so the small counties dinner will be the evening of March 20th. And it would be great if you could all have that on your calendars. Apache County, they serve traditional Apache Navajo Navajo tacos, and had a lot of their homemade recipes, and it was really a good event. And so they also brought a number of their board staff and stuff, and just wanted to, with your permission, extend that to your board staff and be able to come to that event on the 20th of March.
Okay.
That is it, Mr. Chairman. We'll also extend invitations to our representatives and senator that represent Gila County to come to that and perhaps speak. For the meeting that we have, small counties, the agenda is up to the Gila County Board of Supervisors, and so we'll be working with you to put together that agenda for the small counties dinner and meeting. So
I think we should offer Gila Monster poppers. Just Gila County, Gila Monster.
okay.
That's a joke. Before someone quotes me.
I'm not sure what they are,
I
but
think you've been nominated, so.
Okay, thank you, James. Supervisor Humphrey.
Just keeping up on projects. There's a lot of projects going on in District 2 right now, from the bridge to the paving to the Gaisila Road to the sidewalk project going down Golden Hills. So that's great. My hat's off to all staff for helping with those, and the Board of Supervisors for approving them. I've been kind of interested in Tri-City Sanitation District. I was at one of their meetings here a while back in defense of rumors that were going around, and I'll be at a meeting tonight with Tri-City as well. There's a group that's called Citizens Against Higher Taxes Committee that's presenting a lot of grief to Tri-City. And they say nothing about taxes. It's all they're negative against Tri-City. And so I don't know why they call themselves Citizens Against Higher Taxes. But anyway, so working with Tri-City to try to work through that issue. And so that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Klein.
Yeah, okay. When I was in Superior for that breakfast with the governor, it's been a while back, I guess. When I was talking to her about some of what Gila County has been doing and whatnot, one of the things I mentioned was our youth program put into place here in the county, brought back to the county actually, because it was here prior to us. She was really interested in that particular topic. And so yesterday, me and Kathy sat in on a Zoom meeting with two of her, I guess one's cabinet staff and the other one's our workforce. Yeah. And they were there to talk to us about our youth program. And one of the things, well, to back up a little bit, we went through it all, how we started with numbers and where we were like up to last year. It's increased, it's done well, and everything like that. So what they're really interested in is looking at partnering with us, I guess you would say. Kathy's gonna write up some things and send to them. And quite possibly, we could get some funds from the state that will end up coming straight to the county and for some help with this program. And there's some things in there where I could see that would be real beneficial to us and also our neighbors. Because one of the issues is we border Pinal County right there in Kearney and Hayden. And we have kids that live across the road, and it's kind of the pits to have to really look at addresses. I really didn't care in all the years we've dealt with it, because in that corner down there, there's not any opportunities for our youth to work and stuff like that. So I never really cared what side of the street you come from. It was all about helping these kids. But this could be a way we could have some extra funds come into this program that we could go ahead and help some of those kids that's across the highway. In addition to that, we are going to be talking to Pinal County, right? Here in about a week, I think it is, on maybe they would be willing to step in and help us as well with this program. But these guys that we talked to yesterday, 2 gentlemen and a lady, they were real impressed about the way we're doing it. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest advantages to what we do in our youth program is we don't deal with eligibility. If a kid needs a job and we got the money, we give them a job. When you go through workforce and other programs, it has eligibility requirements that can really be a detriment to some youth somewhere that really needs a job. So that's a big advantage that we have in the program that we're doing here as a county. And hopefully we'll keep it that way and keep going. And so that was a real good conversation with those two. I really enjoyed their enthusiasm, and they spoke highly of it. I thought they were pretty appreciative of our program too, overall. So I'm hoping to see more come out of that. The other day, I participated in the ECO meeting on Zoom. Good meeting, talking about really getting our story out there as well. You know, what ECO's doing as a group and all that. So when I go back to DC, I'll probably be taking some of that with me and talking to senators and congressmen about that as well. So, and other than that, I think I'm good.
Okay, good, very good. So I have an appointment to make with the Industrial Development Authority. Had a good conversation with Cliff Potts. He's very excited that the IDA is changing some of its membership to a stronger position, something more positive that will enhance and work better. And so I have the responsibility of making one of those appointments. I think you have another one, if I'm not wrong. So check into that. And so there's 2 vacancies right now. And I believe you have one to appoint.
I just appointed one to the board,
So,
Marvin Mole.
okay, so maybe that's the one I'm speaking of.
Okay.
Okay. And so I have someone in mind. They're going to get back with me, and I think it'll be good. So, so industrial development, economic development, all those things are important. So I think it's good that maybe the energy there is shifting to a more positive thing. And I read in the paper today, I know it's not our purview exactly, but Pine Strawberry Water Improvement District is making some headway with their flow, getting their wells to function a little bit better. And so they're producing more water and fixing more leaks. And so that's a positive, good thing in that area. Also, I'm sure all of us have been receiving a lot of emails when it comes to the short-term rentals. And so I've been keeping track of all of those myself. And we've been marking the positive or the negative and the concerns. And so I think it's April 30th that we're going to have a work session on that. That's also the day we're also going to have the Gila Provisional College board of directors come and speak with us on their progress. There was another article in the paper today that I believe Preston Pollock, who's the newest member of that board, kind of led, and with regard to some of the situation that's going on with that, and it is concerning, and so we do need to have a conversation about that. So that's all good. I'm glad that's all coming up, and so that's really all I think I have to say. So unless there's something else, then I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.